cool stuff with shader graph coming up. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hi everyone, this is Omar Wafaki. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If not, welcome to this channel where I create game development tutorials, and from time to time I upload my short films. If you're interested, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever a new video is uploaded. And before we begin with the tutorial, I just want to make an announcement. My Unity Filmmaking 101 course should have been released today, but while working on it, I realized I want to add even more stuff and more stuff I want to talk about. And because of that, I pushed the release date till the end of the month. And basically the course, in the beginning, I'll show you the basics of timeline and Cinemachine, and then we will create the first project, which is an environment showcase like the ones you see in the asset store and so on. Or before a level plays, you get to see some beauty shots of the level. And then the second project will be a 1 to 2 minutes short film that we will be creating together. And the cool thing is that you will be provided with 2 original soundtracks, one for the showcase and one for the short film, and also a professional voice over will be provided for the short film. It's an interesting course that I'm really excited for you to see. And with this postpone of 2 weeks, it's actually good news. So you get to pre-order the course and enjoy 50% off for another 2 weeks. And if you'd like to hear more updates about the course, please subscribe to the newsletter. And back to the tutorial. Today we're mixing a bit of shader graph and a bit of coding to create something interactive like this. See, we have this character walking around, and as he gets closer to these spheres, look how they act crazy. This is like one of these mystery space movies, so you can use that to have some sort of interaction. When your character gets closer to this object, it gets like that, and then you have a text saying proceed to interact or whatever. So it's just something fun and interesting that gives a lot of variety to the scene. So yeah, let's see how to do that. Okay, first here we have this empty scene. Let's create a sphere to create a shader for it. So right click, 3D object, sphere. Let's call it magical sphere. And we're gonna push it up a little. So yeah, we can see it here. I'm just gonna push it to the other side. Alright, awesome. Now let's create a shader and a material and assign it to the sphere and start playing around. Right click, create shader graph, URP, lit shader graph. Let's call it a proximity distortion. And then right click, create material. And this is a shortcut that I learned, I forgot from where, but it's really an interesting shortcut. It will create a material using this shader. So let's call it magical sphere. Now, as you can see here, it's already assigned. So now I'm going to assign this material to the sphere. Now let's double click on the shader graph to open it. And I'm just going to put it somewhere here. So basically what we'll be doing is playing with the vertex position. So to play with it, we need to get the actual positions of the vertices before we even do anything to them. So hit space and type position. And we're going to get the object space position for each vertex. If I hit save now, nothing happens. In order to distort it, you need to add something to it. So if I create a vector 3, an empty vector 3, and just add it here, hit save, it disappears because it will place all of the points in one position, 0, 0, 0. So let's put this back and try to add. If I drag this here, drag it here, hit save, nothing happens. Okay, cool. What if we add 1 on the y-axis? It moved the entire object up 1 unit. But we don't want that. We want to move individual vertices instead of just like adding 1 to all of them. To do that, we can use the normal vector. And we want to use the object space. Basically, it will get the normal direction of each of these vertices. So if it's the top, it will be pointing up, down, it will be pointing down. So if you add 1, it will add -1 here and then +1 on top. So if we add these together, look what happens. It will increase by 1 unit. It's scaled with 1 unit. We have double the size of the sphere, but we don't want that. We want the normal vector to be adding in some random areas. To do that, we're gonna multiply it with a noise map. So we can use simple noise, and then if we plug it here, hit save. Okay, cool. For the UV, let's use the geometry position, and we're using the object space. So if I hit save now, nothing really noticeable changed. But to add some soul to it, we want to move the simple noise offset. To do that, we have two ways. First, we plug it to this tiling and offset UV, and we plug this one here, and then we can modify the offset from here. And for that, to move the offset automatically, we can use the time node and just plug in the time into the offset and look what happens. It's pretty fast, but yeah, that's what we have. And then the other way is we can just add directly and plug it in here. Almost the same results, but I'll go with the tiling and offset. And you can even modify the scale here. Let's put it back to 500. All right, so now let's create a parameter to control the speed, because now it's too fast. So I'm going to create a float and call it speed. And let's give it a value of 1. And drag it in here. And because we don't want to control, because now it's too fast, if you want to decrease its speed, we have to use fractions of this. So 0.0 something. Why not just divide the speed by 100 and then multiply that value with the speed? So it's even more user-friendly when assigning values. And drag it here, hit save. Now it's cool. I can select the magical sphere, and you will see a value here. If we put it to 100, it will be back to the same value, or to the same speed we had before. I think I'm gonna stick with something like 1. This is interesting. A quick tip, if you don't see the shader is playing around like that in the editor, go to the effects here and enable always refresh, because without it, it will look something like this. It doesn't work all the time, so always refresh will make sure that you're working just fine and you see the results live in front of you. So I'm going to drag these here, right click, group, or Control G, and then just call it speed. And then here, these guys will be noise control. So you can just drag them, and it's better to organize this way. And I'm just going to pull these guys up a little bit. And we're going to group these and call it Vertex Control. Okay, so basically this is good, but let's add more controls to it. So for instance, now we cannot modify the range of the vertex displacement. Let's create a variable to control that. So I'm going to use a vector2 and call it range remap. So the default should be 0 and 1. And I'm going to drag it in here. Just move it so it goes inside of this noise control group. And then we're going to plug this into a remap node. It's from 0 to 1. And the output should be from the range we have. And we're going to replug that into the multiply node to the vector. So if we hit save now, nothing would happen. But if I increase the Y here, you can see that when it goes up, it goes further now. I can decrease it, so it just barely moves. And even if I set it's 0, I can modify the minimum, which is how much should it go inside. So I can go with -1. Look at that. So you can play with these range values to achieve whatever you're looking for. This is something fun. And I'm going to leave it at these values. And now basically we're almost done. One more thing we want to add before we finish the main thing, which is we need a normalized value to control all of these together. So I'm going to create a new value, call it amount. And this should be a slider having a range from 0 to 1 to activate all of these. So I'm going to drag it in here and then multiply it. We're going to multiply it with the remap values. So basically, if it's 0, it means it will be black, which means no distortion at all. If it's 1, it will be whatever values we've assigned it here in the remap, and it will have these values. And basically the noise here, when it's 0 or black, it won't have any sort of displacement. But if it's 1, it will be pushing it outward. So now we're going to plug that here, hit save, and look at the magic. We can just increase that, and you can see this increasing with it. And now we can do the same thing with the amount to multiply the speed by the amount as well. And then we plug it in here, hit save, and look at that. Now, as we increase it, the speed even slows down until it goes to 0. Let's say we want to have a minimum speed. So I'm going to create another float, call it min speed, and put it here. And the minimum speed, let's say 0.5. And then I'm going to plug it in here. And I'm just going to remove this multiply node. And we have the minimum speed and the amount. And what we will do now is create a lerp. So the minimum should be plugged into the A variable, and then speed to B, and then amount to time. So if it's 0, it will choose A, which is the minimum speed. Instead of multiplying just by 0, we can have more choice. And the maximum, which is our normal speed, will be chosen if time or the amount is set to 1. And then the output, we're going to divide it by 100 to get the values we want, or the smaller values, the smoother ones. And then we're going to plug that again to the offset. So hit save. And now even if we go down here, there is still some speed in it. And now I'm just going to create the essential variables for the base color, metallic, and smoothness. So now we have more values to play with. Can increase the smoothness to have it something reflective. And now we have this weird looking shape. Now we're done with the shader. What we will do next is create a script that looks at the distance between this object and the player and assign the amount accordingly in a normalized value. And before we go there, let's select amount, and you will see the reference name underscore amount with a capital A. This is how we're gonna modify the parameter of this float. Let's add this script, distance to target. This is the script. Let's take a look at it. It's pretty simple. We have few variables. First, we have target, which is the player. And then we have the activation distance and distance padding. Basically, activation distance is when should it be activated, when we're 5 units away. And then the distance padding, and the padding is like when we're 2 units away from the shape, because sometimes it has a collider or it's a big object, and it calculates from the center of this object. So sometimes you need some padding so you can see the full effect before we even reach there. So this is mostly the range. When we're 5 units away, it will be 0. And when we're 2 units away, it will be fully activated, 100%. The value will be from 0 to 1. And then this is a variable that it's private. We're just using it in the script, but it's public, so we can take a look at it at the normalized distance. And then here we assign the mesh renderer, and then we get its material. And that's what we're doing here. And then here we simply get the distance between the target and the object. And then we just convert it into a normalized value using our padding. And then whatever value we have here, we're going to set it to the material using the amount reference, which we just saw in the shader graph. And the value would be the normalized distance, this one. So let's see that in action. So first we need to assign the target, which is the player. I'm going to assign it here. Let's hit play and see what we have. Okay, cool. As I get closer, it gets activated. When I run away, deactivates. We can even increase the range from here. Let's say from 10 units, it will start activating. Alright, this is cool. Let's try to add a couple of these around. It's 2 units in the y-axis. Okay, I'm just going to use my OB object placer tool here to duplicate it. Repetitive duplication, offset 2 in the y, and hit duplicate. Just going to enable gizmos. Let's select all of them and make the distance 10 units. Let's save and let's hit play and look at the magic. Just like running through some mines or some weird alien traps. So that's basically it. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you'd like to see more of these videos, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever new video is uploaded. And again, if you're interested to learn more about my filmmaking course, please subscribe to the newsletter to get exclusive discounts and to stay up to date with whatever content I put out there. And also you can pre-order the course for 50% until it's released on 30th of June. This is Omar Bufaki. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.